everyone. I'm Zari, and this is our very first episode. I feel excited, but also a little nervous. We have talked about starting this podcast for a long time, and today we finally decided to do it. We thought the best way to begin is to tell you how we met, because our story did not start in a romantic way. It actually started with confusion, small arguments, and very wrong first impressions.
That is true. If someone had told me on the first day that this serious, focused girl would become the most important person in my life, I would not have believed them. I would have smiled politely and said, "That is impossible."
And if someone had told me that this always late, too relaxed boy would one day be the person I trust the most, I would have laughed. Not in a mean way, just in a very sure way.
You were very sure about many things.
Because I like clarity. I like knowing what I feel and what I think. At least I try to.
We met at university. We were in the same class, but for the first few weeks, we never spoke to each other. I noticed Zari because she always sat in the front row. She had her notebook open before the class even started. She listened carefully. She looked very serious, like she was preparing for something important.
I noticed Vikram because he always came in just a little late. Not late enough to get into trouble, but late enough to make people turn their heads. He walked in calmly, like time was not a big problem for him.
Time is important. I just did not feel stressed about it.
You dropped your bag once, and everyone looked at you.
That happened one time.
It happened more than once.
All right, maybe twice. But still, that does not define a person.
My first impression of him was simple. I thought he was not serious. I thought he did not care enough. And I did not like that, because I care a lot about my goals and my future. I believed that if someone looks too relaxed, maybe they are not trying hard enough.
And my first impression of Zari was that she was intimidating. She did not smile much in class. She asked very direct questions. She looked at the professor like she was analyzing every word. I thought she was judging everyone around her.
I was not judging. I was concentrating.
It looked like judging.
That says more about you than about me.
Maybe it does.
The real beginning of our story happened when we were put in the same group for a project. I remember checking the list and seeing his name next to mine. I felt disappointed. I wanted someone organized, someone who would plan everything early.
And I remember seeing her name and thinking, this is going to be intense. I felt like she would control the whole project, and I would just follow her instructions.
Because someone had to take responsibility.
We had 5 weeks to finish the project.
Only 5 weeks.
5 weeks is not only. It is more than a month.
It depends on how much you care.
At our first meeting, Zari came with a full plan. She had written down possible ideas, a timeline, and even divided the tasks in her notebook.
That is called being prepared.
It is also called being 10 steps ahead of everyone else.
Someone had to think ahead.
I suggested we first talk about the topic calmly before deciding everything. I said we still had time to think and discuss. She looked at me like I had just suggested we cancel the whole project.
Because you said, let's not rush. And in my mind, not rushing meant wasting time. For the first 2 weeks, we were polite but cold. We talked about tasks, deadlines, and research. Nothing personal, no jokes, no relaxed conversations. I thought he was too calm. He thought I was too strict.
I remember one moment clearly. You told me that we needed to meet again the next morning at 8. I said I preferred 10. You looked at me and said, if we want good results, we need discipline. Someone had to think ahead. I suggested we first talk about the topic calmly before deciding everything. I said we still had time to think and discuss. She looked at me like I had just suggested we cancel the whole project.
Because you said, let's not rush. And in my mind, not rushing meant wasting time. For the first 2 weeks, we were polite but cold. We talked about tasks, deadlines, and research. Nothing personal. No jokes. No relaxed conversations. I thought he was too calm. He thought I was too strict.
I remember one moment clearly. You told me that we needed to meet again the next morning at 8. I said I preferred 10. You looked at me and said, if we want good results, we need discipline.
That sounds reasonable.
It sounded like I was in military training.
You are exaggerating.
Maybe. A little.
But everything changed one evening in the library. It was late, and we were both tired. The project was more complicated than we expected. We had been working for hours, and the building was almost empty.
For the first time, we were not arguing about structure or time. We were just quiet. And then I asked her something simple. I asked, why do you always look so serious?
I remember that question very clearly. At first, I wanted to give a short answer, but I was too tired to pretend. So I told the truth. I said that I feel responsible for my future. I feel pressure to succeed. And sometimes I am afraid of failing.
That was the moment I saw her differently. She was not strict because she wanted control. She was strict because she was scared of losing control.
And I asked him why he looked so relaxed all the time. He said something that surprised me.
I said that I learned to stay calm because stress never helped me. When I panic, I make worse decisions. So I try to breathe and take things step by step. It does not mean I do not care. It just means I deal with pressure differently.
That conversation changed everything. For the first time, I did not see him as careless. I saw him as balanced. And I realized that maybe I needed some of that balance in my life.
And I stopped seeing her as intimidating. I saw her as strong and honest. She was carrying many expectations, but she was still moving forward.
After that night, our conversations became softer. We still disagreed sometimes, but it felt different. We started asking each other small, personal questions. What music do you like? What do you do when you feel stressed? What kind of future do you imagine?
I remember walking out of the library together and talking about things that had nothing to do with the project. It felt natural, not forced, not planned.
And then something strange happened. I started waiting for our meetings, not because of the project, but because I wanted to talk to him.
I started checking my phone more often, just to see if she had sent a message about something small. Sometimes it was just, did you finish that part? But even that felt important.
There was no dramatic moment, no big confession, no perfect romantic scene. One day, we were just sitting together after class, and there was a comfortable silence, and I realized that I felt safe next to him.
And I realized that I did not feel judged anymore. I felt understood.
We did not fall in love instantly.
We grew into it, slowly.
Step by step.
Looking back, I think it is funny that we almost didn't talk because of our first impressions. If we had stayed distant, we would have missed something important.
First impressions can be loud. They can feel very true, but sometimes they are just incomplete stories.
And sometimes the person who irritates you at first becomes the person who supports you the most.
I am very glad I was wrong about you.
I am very glad I was wrong about you too.
In this podcast, we want to talk about real situations, daily life, work, stress, misunderstandings, family, small arguments, growth, everything that makes a relationship real.
Sometimes our conversations will be funny, sometimes emotional, sometimes uncomfortable, but always honest.
And always in simple, natural English.
Because we believe language is not only about grammar, it is about connection.
Thank you for listening to our story.
We are Vikram and Zari.
And this is just the beginning.